Hello guys, I am the Canadian Reviewer. Now you guys remember my Transformers Robots in Disguise Cliffjumper review. If you have not, and if you have not watched it, go watch it now. Anyways, if you recall about that, I did say that first edition Cliffjumper is actually worse than RID Cliffjumper. Now that I have GDO, which is not typically first edition, but it is pretty much the same mold with the new head. Now that I have this one, I'm kinda torn between the two, but I'll do a comparison later on, blah 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 blah. Let's take a closer look at it, shall we? Well, here is GDO Cliffjumper in his robot mode, and might I just say how gorgeous this alt mode is. It's just gorgeous. And the good news is that, well, the bad news is I don't have first edition Cliffjumper. The good news is I do have this, so I can do a comparison between him and the Robots in Disguise version, which I have currently in my hand. I'll compare it to other Transformers Prime figures in my collection, just for random sake. So what do I not like about this toy? At least in alt mode, there's not too much. I think it's mostly the red paint. It doesn't necessarily match the front of this, but I think that can be accepted easily. This guy is full of panel lines everywhere. You know, the Robots in Disguise one has panel lines, but I'm just not a big fan of this part right here. The horns are rubber, just so you guys know. It's actually a... You know what? Why don't I just put this guy here? It's a brighter gray here. Now, one of the things I do like about this guy is that, well, he has his hammer. So, you know, if he wants to collect electricity, he can do that. And I like the clear windows instead of the blue. That might just be me. But that is pretty much it. If you guys want to take a closer look at it, let me straighten up the camera. So there's a comparison. Their backs are pretty much neck to neck. So what you see on the front is how much shorter it is. It's actually, the camera shows it being a lot shorter than it, but in real life it's not. Sorry about that, guys. Another problem is that there's a big crack right on top of here. This guy's pretty solid, but there's a big crack on this guy. And I do happen to like the Autobot logo on the front there, just so you guys can get a better comparison. So which one would I recommend more? Definitely the GDO. It's got a more maroon color to it. It's actually, surprisingly enough, not as dark, or it is darker, but it actually compares well to this. You can pretty much put one in alt mode and one in robot mode. Now this guy does have the Hammer of Doom, so if you like applying hammers to an alt mode, well, there you go. They do also have painted headlights. I kind of like the darker silver more than the brighter silver, but I think that it matches well with the darker lights, and these ones are more, they're translucent plastic. This is just painted on plastic. Then again, this makes it look like the lights are on. This just looks like it's not even doing anything, so. On the back, surprisingly enough, this one's better because it has black in it and a little bit more details. So, you know, not so bad. There's a first edition right there. They're once again neck to neck. So there you go, that's Starscream. So there's two first editions. Let's see. Gonna put in my Prime collection. I've never actually put my Prime collection in one place in alt mode. Wheeljack's definitely wider than CLIFFJUMPER. It compares well to the GDO, but it's definitely, you can definitely see it compared to the Robots in Disguise one. So there you go. There they all are. You got a comparison. It rolls fairly nice. I do have sometimes troubles placing the tires all on the ground, but I think it's nice. Doesn't have an Autobot logo on this side, but on this side, yeah, it does. It's painted silver. I guess that's okay. Let's move on to the robot mode. And so finally, here is GDO CLIFFJUMPER in his robot mode. Now, I did say that the Robots in Disguise CLIFFJUMPER outdoes this figure. And I was young. So now that I have him in hand, my personal opinion is still there. I seriously recommend the Robots in Disguise version over this guy. There are a couple of reasons why. One of them being is he is sort of flat, except on his caboose, but it actually works out pretty well, so I'm not going to count that as a negative. Some photos make him look a little flat, but he's actually pretty bulky once you have him in hand. Now, there are a couple of problems that I have with the figure, but I just want to say that I absolutely love how this guy transforms in reverse to the Robots in Disguise version. You know how the arms are completely the side panels in the Robots in Disguise ones, and part of the leg is the back end sides of the car? This actually does it in reverse. These are the panels, the doors, and the front of the car on the side, and this is the back of the car, which is fantastic. I love the new head. It's got a classic look to it, even though I kind of wanted them to do a War for Cybertron CLIFFJUMPER or Follow Cybertron CLIFFJUMPER with a Transformers Prime version head. This one, I do like it, and I think it actually works out well. Some of the photos make it look uninteresting, and, you know, it's just bland there, but when you get him in hands, he's actually not half bad. But there are a few problems. One being is that the arms are too big for this guy. But that's kind of actually not a problem once I think about it, because he was kind of strong. It's just these side panels right here and how the tire sticks out. It's a little hit and miss. My biggest problem with this guy is that he feels like he is going to crack at multitude of points. One of them being the knee. I actually do see stress marks in the knee. Another point is that these pegs on the top of the shoulders, how they connect to the top hood of the car, or canopy, whatever, I don't know anything about cars, and it just snaps in right there, and it feels like that's gonna snap off. So I'd recommend sanding that down just to make it easier to put back in and leave out. And another place where I just think it's gonna break is these two pieces right here, the front lights. I feel like those are gonna break anytime soon. Now, I think there's a little bit of an error on the box. Now, on the box, you can see the lights are sticking upwards, as in those were supposed to be molded in and painted in. Unfortunately, though, for CLIFFJUMPER, don't know why I'm doing that. Unfortunately, though, for CLIFFJUMPER, he does not, so it's always downwards. I guess that's unfortunate. Maybe not, actually, once I think about it. I think the major saving grace about this toy, and one of the reasons people actually buy this version, are the arm cannons. that? So beautiful. My God. Just looks epic with them. But I think I like the hands just as well. Now let's do a little bit of a size comparison. First up, we've got the first edition Starscream. Just because, you know, first edition. The one first edition I do want is first edition Bulkhead. These two look great together. I'll be honest, they do. They really do. Now, of course, we got a CLIFFJUMPER, and believe it or not, I'm not too sure about it, but this guy might be smaller than that guy. It looks like that on the camera just because I have this guy in front and the other guy in the back, but one time I compared it, and this guy was actually taller than this guy. But right now, it looks like he's taller and he's shorter. I'm not too sure anymore. I'm confused. What is cool is that the hands are pretty much the same mold except for how they connect onto the arm. So you can put the hammer into there. And just for kicks, there's Wheeljack, I guess. So, yeah. So that's enough of him. Let's go to my overall review. So overall, what I highly recommend GDO CLIFFJUMPER. Yeah, I mean, it's not that bad. Even if you got the robots in disguise CLIFFJUMPER, get this guy too, because one thing, it's in the Generations line, so, you know, those two aren't in the same line. You can still get this guy and get that guy. And, I actually, surprisingly enough, like the head. I thought that I wouldn't like the head at all, but I really do. Those blasters, oh my God. So, I would highly recommend GDO CLIFFJUMPER. I think he's a sublime toy. That is all for now. I am the Canadian Reviewer. I'm going to eat some bacon.